Okay, you guys, hello and welcome to Happy Empires. And I'm so excited to have Cory Michelle Johnson here today. She's totally changed the way that I've looked at a lot of my social media and my life. And she's truly inspiring. I've watched her come from a space and a place where she kind of was like, what the heck am I doing? And why would I ever choose online marketing to just totally mastering rocking it? She's really rocking it in Facebook groups. And she's also rocking it from a space where she's really just being her crazy unicorn self. And I really am loving watching her grow and building this massive following. So thank you guys for being here. And I'm going to open the door for Cory to just let's go where you want to go. I know that one of your big things is, I know my message, and you're showing up and you're being that message. What can you say for those of people that are still unclear about their message, not sure where to go with it? Let's start there.
Oh, awesome. Well, first, thanks for having me. And this is definitely a conversation that is fun to play with, because I know you're probably not going to ask me how you did it, because I can't really say how.
Right. I will ask you some of that.
Some of that. Well, yeah, but like a step by step, I can't really talk about that because it was all just following, being me and following the energy, right? And when I was very confused about my message, a lot of us have, we could do a lot, right? Like, I know you, Jeneth, you could work with a variety, like probably infinite number of things and infinite number of issues and problems and creation spaces and, types of people. So when the regular business world says, find your niche, it's just like, like it's scary because it's like, I don't know what that is. And I have to pick the right one and all this stuff. And I got a little frazzled with that and trying to find my niche. And I think hindsight, I didn't really do this on purpose. But hindsight, looking back, of what I actually did was I just kept being me and choosing to work with people that was fun for me, that got results. And even though I could definitely work with, a huge spectrum of people in their lives and in their businesses and making money and being them and magic and all this stuff, like the more I just kept sharing about me and sharing about what I was about and being really authentic, I guess you could say, of just like, hey, here's who I am and this is what I'm about, and talk and really connecting with other people like that, then the sort of market came together. And it was not like this, the market and the niche, or the message, I'm sorry. It was not something I expected, because it's all of a sudden, it's not like, they say women between the ages of 35 and 65 who make this much money, who go to yoga, blah, blah, blah. It's really like people who don't fit in, people who know that there's magic. And it doesn't matter how much money they're making. It doesn't matter like some of the other avatar sort of things, but it's really about like, hey, do you know that you came here for something else? And have you never fit into this reality? And are you ready to have whatever that is, whatever is beyond, and that magic and that possibility be your real life? So that's my message.
Right. Your target audience is the people open to magic.
Yeah.
And understanding that magic is real in this reality, that aren't like, okay, this is weird. And we're not talking like card trick magic here. We're talking about miracles.
Yeah.
And, and I've seen miracle after miracle after miracle, and you created a movement behind it with the Crazy Possible experiment, where people were sharing their miracles.
Yeah.
What was the best miracle you got from that?
Oh God, the best? I don't know if there's a the best, but if you go through and scroll in the group, you can find like a million of them. Uh-huh. But I saw people have like ones that they could define and say, I did this experiment And then this is what showed up, and it's like an immediate shift in their reality. But I think one of my favorite thing is now after we've done it for a year, so I've done 52 experiments, and they're all in the vein of ask and you shall receive, opening you up to miracles beyond logic, beyond your mind trying to figure out, beyond your computations, beyond your pros and cons list, and really like opening yourself up to having the universe create with you. And they're saying like, Cory, I've been doing this for 9 months, for 3 months. I started in your first week and my life is just completely different. I function differently. I trust myself. I actually engage with ask and receive, and the people are having more money. They're having more ease. They're leaving relationships that aren't working for them. They're changing relationships to actually work for them. And they're starting to honor themselves in their own awareness of the light being true for them and the heavy not. And that group has had like this magical impact on people that come back and say, I never even ever posted, but my life has changed too. Mm. So it's like,
wow,
that for me is like the crazy possible, and being able to have that much influence, where me just being me, teaching people these really simple tools, it has a massive impact, because as we know, having social influence, it's not just those people, it's those people's lives and everybody in that too.
Everyone in their lives.
Yeah.
No, and it's so exciting. How many people are in that group now?
10,004.
Wow. I need to go back around and play.
Yeah, and right now we've got I've got a book, so it's in process. Check this out. This is so exciting.
Okay.
So it'll be a book, and then it'll have all the experiments in it, so you can flip through the book and read the experiment and do that for the week or the day. And then it'll talk about how to do that particular one. And then it'll have all of these crazy possible changes of testimonials of people that actually changed based on that experiment. So you open it up, and that's what it looks like. So isn't that cool?
That's very cool. That's sort of like chicken soup from the soul on steroids,
Well, practical things that you can do in the moment that literally change the energy. And what's so cool is like I was just in Australia for 5 weeks, right? And I met this guy. He had no exposure to any access consciousness stuff or me or magic or anything. And he literally read one of the access books and started playing with some of these ask and receive questions that I use in the Crazy Possible experiment. And immediately he's like, oh my God, that totally changed. And he's like, Cory, I felt sick this morning and I asked a question and like 10 minutes later I felt amazing. And I'm like, that's the miracle. That normally people in this reality go, oh, I'm going to be sick all day, or this is going to last a week.
Just in the morning. Damn it, I have a cold. It's going to take me 5 days to feel like me again.
Yeah. And so he literally, like, I watched him transform things, and he's just like, I'm so grateful my life has changed simply because a few of these experiments, these questions.
That's crazy. Oh, that's so cool.
Right, so check this out, Jeneth. I'm looking at what would it be like if this whole concept of ask and you shall receive was the way people functioned and they knew how to use it.
Yeah, I know.
Like, what would people actually be asking for, and how fast could they actually change things in their life? Like, that's the world I want to live in.
And I really feel like your movement expanded so fast, grew. Sometimes I use expand instead of grow, but it grew so fast because you were just kind of like curiously exploring, like, I wonder what would happen if people would really practice this work. Yeah. And that, one of the classes that I did was just on a practice, just asking certain questions every single morning. Let's see what happens. We did it straight for 21 days. And I tell you, it's profound when you actually practice this work, what really changes. And it's sort of like we're, just still in this like jungle of conclusion when we're not asking. Yeah. So why wouldn't you ask?
Yeah. Well, and I think for me, before I started really looking at this, I knew magic was possible. I just knew it. I mean, heck, I had parking karma, so I could get a parking spot. right? Anywhere. But I couldn't frickin' change my money, and I couldn't change my body, and I couldn't change the other things that really meant something to me. And when I started playing with these, it was really hard for me to ask questions. And so what I did was I started asking, how does it get better than this? And what else is possible? Literally, not joking, like 500 times a day. So
Wow.
everything, I was like, what else is possible? How does it get better? Like, I got road rage a little bit. What else is possible? How does it get better? Like, something great happens. What else is possible? How does it get better? Like, all day long for months.
Wow.
Because I knew that I was like a conclusionist living in Conclusionville, and that life was leading me probably to not being on the planet anymore.
Yeah.
And I knew that, you know, if I was going to live the long life like the rest of my family, I had at least another 50 years. And if that life, God, it feels so heavy just even tapping into the energy of that life of struggle and frustration and always seeking and never really getting it. And when I started asking these questions, literally the magic started showing up more and more and more. And now 6 years later, I'm like, every bit of my life is magic. And it's not a joke. Like, it's real. It's like really real. I know you know that.
Well, it's so funny because I almost feel like, you know, on other call series where they're interviewing me, that I maybe shouldn't tell them, like, that I can actually do certain things, like eat whatever I want and not actually worry about my weight, you know, or even with business things, like I can sleep in until 2 p.m. and some days I don't even work. It's like there's that much freedom. And when I do work, it never feels like work. It's just like fun. Yeah. So it's like I live this life of like total fun. You know, I eat and drink what I want usually. Occasionally I'll have my moment of like, what did I do? But, you know, in general, and I go off and, you know, travel when I want to travel and don't when I don't. Yeah. You know, and it's you know, it's sort of like, should I say anything? Or let me just join your group, I guess, like, so I fit in. I mean, so instead, you know, I'm starting to let people realize that, you know, it's totally possible, and you know, and you can have this brain space. You know, I've met, you know, when people talk to me about, you know, I feel like I have to, or it's always a hustle, right? You know, and I'm like, you know, well, it doesn't have to be.
No.
You can choose that if you wish.
You know, it doesn't. And I think that, like, for me, I came from having a lot of pride working hard, right? So when I started asking questions and found the Access Consciousness tools, I was working 70, sometimes 80 hours a week, between 60 and 80, depending. And I was making crap for money in my own business. So I was being the entrepreneur, right? But I wasn't having any freedom. I wasn't having anything that I really had desired to have out of being an entrepreneur. I should have been working at Starbucks, getting free coffee benefits and at least $14 an hour, right? So that would have given me more of the freedom that I was looking for. And so I was very proud of that. And it's funny because somebody said to me one time, it's like, you're the hardest worker I know. And I was like, oh yeah, I am. And I was like, wait a second, that is not a compliment. That is not a compliment. And I really looked at it. And now I don't have the value of working hard. I have the value of actually creating expansively.
Right.
Right. And
that's a good way to put it. Because I still feel like, you know, maybe I need to change the language on this, but I'm like, the work that I do is fun. If I didn't have it there for me to create these projects and things like that, then it would be boring. I want to share my life with people, and I want to share these projects with people, and I want to make a lot of wealth while along the way too.
Exactly.
So it makes you go, you know, so I still, you know, occasionally work. Yeah, it looks like work.
Well, and that's exactly the thing, is that when you're in that congruency, it might look like hours at the computer. It might look like having conversations. It might look like doing technical stuff or whatever. But because you're in the energy of creating something that's fun for you and that you're great at, then it doesn't feel like work. It's all creation. And so now, like when I create, like same thing, like when I'm creating my business, there's some stuff I don't want to do that I got to do. Yeah. And I outsource a lot now because now I am willing to, where I wasn't before. I thought I needed to do it all, right? And be the workhorse. But
right. It takes a little bit to get that.
There is a sort of an unveiling process for everyone in their own right of getting to that space. But I'll tell you this, I just spent 5 weeks in Australia. I just got back last Friday, and I worked the least amount that I've ever worked. I had the most fun and joy. And there were some points where I was like, God, I feel like I should be doing more, but I really just kept playing and doing what was required, like what I needed to.
Right.
And I doubled my revenue last month.
Yeah.
I was like, that is what I knew was possible. And the more I get into that flow with myself and streamline and get congruent, then the more of like miracles like that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Which makes me want to, let's talk a little bit about comfort zone. I really feel like that's the word that, this group probably is like playing with delegation and comfort zone in other areas, like the risk that we have to take as an entrepreneur. Because, I know that you can offer some magic around that. So let's kind of like open the door to a little bit of that.
Right.
Yeah. So like when you talk about like stretching it to delegate, like what for you did you require to know maybe before you could do that?
Oh, well, I had all these fantasies about delegation because everybody always says, oh, just outsource that, right? And then other people say, outsource what you're not good at. But what most people will do, and what I did too, was I don't want to know about that, so I'm going to outsource it. Right? Like marketing or accounting or whatever. And what that does is that makes you go like this in your business, right? And then you're like, just do it for me. And you're actually avoiding knowing about how that part of your business works. Now, you don't have to be the expert in it, but you have to know, this is what I found for myself, is that I can't just hand it off to somebody because they never, ever, and I've hired a lot of people over the last 6 years, they will never do a good job because you don't actually know what you want them to do, no matter how good they are. And I've spent a lot of money trusting that somebody else is going to know better than me. And every time I do that, I spend way more money. The job doesn't get done as well as I would like it to. And I always see in the end that it was me avoiding something, right? Not actually wanting to be engaged with my finances or be engaged with the operations. And so now what seems to really work is looking at, okay, so why is it that I want to outsource that? Like really looking at why. Yeah. Not the, oh, I don't have enough time to do that, or that's not in my genius, but really like, am I actually avoiding something here, right? And I hear it a lot with accounting and a lot with, and you probably do too, with marketing. Like, I just want somebody else to promote me.
Right.
That you want to look at because that's an inner thing that a lot of times people are just avoiding, and nobody else is going to be able to market you unless you're willing to, and promote you unless you're willing to engage with that energy of being more of you.
Yeah, it's funny because my husband is like, you're like the best marketer on the planet. Why won't you do it? like you literally, I mean, and I'm like, marketing's not my thing. Like, so maybe there's a lot of something there that I need to look at because I'm great at it. But at the same time, I just don't want to choose it. I'd rather be working with my clients. And I don't know if it seems almost like if I'm not getting paid for it, then I don't want to do it. Though, as you know, if we do marketing, we do get paid for it. I mean, at the end of the day. So, it just seems like sometimes it's like so much work and it doesn't pay off. And, there's these lessons learned. And, yeah.
One of the other things that I really kind of caveating into that like the lessons learned, the awareness is gained of, I just had a project manager that I fully went, oh, I'm going to literally look like this year, like this isn't like 5 years in the past, like this just happened. And I was like, okay, do this and this and this and this and this and get all the business streamlined and do all this stuff. And then she was going to move into the media promotion and all this stuff. And she actually ended up falling off the face of the planet. Like, I don't know where she went. And so now I'm looking at all the systems she's everything she did. And I'm like, that is so not the way I would do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I actually need to be more of the director in my business, like the organization of like, and the CEO. And I realized that I wasn't being the CEO of my business. I was like wanting just to have some random people be the VP of everything and just do it her way. And I was like, that doesn't actually work.
No.
Right? I know, and I just got...
It does work for other businesses. I think it just doesn't work. Well, you don't think it does? Right.
Well, maybe for their businesses. I was just internally...
Well, yeah. And, you know, there's certain... And I feel like we are talking about social marketing here and being ourselves to express. And I really feel like, you know, that's one area where I've got to write my own copy. Nobody is ever touching my copy again. And I've got to put out my own social messages, like the actual posting. I don't care if they do some of the engagement, but the posting, there's no way I'm letting another person touch that. It just killed things for me. And it, you know, and them wanting to do a color theme and everything like that, I'm like, we can try it for a campaign, but we're not doing it because sometimes you just want to show up in the moment. Yeah.
That's exactly it. And like when I started the Crazy Possible experiment, I had a few things that I was doing. Like I knew that I was going to deliver an experiment every week. I knew that I was going to do a video every week. And I knew there was going to be an image every week. And I knew we were going to do a winner. So when people post their changes, we pick a winner and we give them something, right? So that was like literally the system that we had.
Yeah.
Everything else was playing. And then all these people were like, oh, you need to get out of the management of that group. And I said, no. This is the magic. Like this is where my engagement and my energy actually fuels the connections that I'm creating with people.
It wouldn't have grown if you weren't in it.
No, if it was just some systematized, you know, posting automatic sort of thing, it wouldn't have the energy. And I think that when a lot of people teach marketing, if you're not teaching marketing from awareness and your intuitive capacities, then you're missing out on the actual real-time engagement like you're talking about. Because like when I started I do hot tub chats where one day I was just like, I'm just going to get my hot tub and start talking and it's dark and nobody can really see me. I don't know, let's see what happens. I got the intuitive awareness that would be fun for me. And then people are freaking begging me to do more. And I'm like, wow, I thought I was going to have to do some big podcast and all the marketing and all that stuff. And instead, these hot tub chats are getting hundreds and some of them thousands of views. And I'm just being me talking about something.
Yeah.
Right? And I didn't have to create the marketing and I didn't have to do like all the stuff that you think you have to do. I just followed the energy. And that's what I have discovered that I'm really good at, that exactly what you're talking to, of that, like, oh, I'm getting a hit to do this now. Okay, let's see what happens there. Not tomorrow, not in 5 days, now.
Right.
And that's, I think, the brilliance of the connection when we really look at the quantum entanglements and you want to talk about the magic and, you know, the universe.
I think, you know, let's open up the door for that, right? You know, sometimes people need to see things at certain times to receive them. And when you have that now button, you've got to choose it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one example of it was last summer. I woke up, and this was like an immediate like magic, right? Of like, sometimes we do things and it shows up later, right? And it's not quite like the direct connect, but this one was so cool. I'm up in the morning and I always look at Facebook first thing. That's like the first thing I look at is my text messages and my Facebook. And this gal that I hardly knew, I met her one time, was like posting, and she was really stressed out, having a breakdown basically. And I messaged her on Facebook, and I'm like, hey, can I contribute? Like, what do you need? Like, can I contribute to you? And she's like, oh my God, yes, please. Like, I need to talk to somebody. So it's before I'm even out of bed.
Wow.
And I'm talking to her like 30 minutes later, and we're just having this conversation, and I offer her a couple of tools, lightens up her whole world. And I'm not even trying to sell her anything, but I said, hey, would you like some support? Would you like to come to Salt Lake City and like immerse yourself in a totally different energy and have more of these tools for yourself? She's like, yes. She like bought the ticket that day. She's in, and she came, it was literally a week later.
Mm-hmm.
We arranged her whole life to be there. And I was like, wow, how cool was it that it was exactly the right timing that I saw her post. I said yes to that call. And then I had no agenda. I wasn't trying to sell her anything. I was really just like, dude, I can help you.
Right.
Would you like some contribution on this, whatever that looks like?
Right.
And now what's really cool is her whole life, and it's been a year, a little over a year, her whole life has completely changed. Her whole business completely changed. She thought she might have to file bankruptcy and all this other stuff. Her business is thriving. They moved locations. And now, like, because of me connecting with her, literally her whole life has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the impact that we have as social influencers. If we're not putting everything on autopilot, you can actually be there to be engaged with the energies, engage with people. Because for me, at least, that's the value. Like, that's the fun part too.
Yeah. Well, it's when, so I kind of boycotted Facebook and went to Instagram because I wasn't seeing any of my friends anymore. And it was like, if I don't, like, what do I have to do? I had to actually go to their pages and see their stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I was just getting a little annoyed. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to Instagram so I can actually see my friends. And then there wasn't enough on there. So I'm like kind of playing both sides now. But, I've had so many moments like that where it's been, just like, I've got to post this now. And then because I post that, somebody will reach out to me on email and ask me to be on an interview series, or, it's very few. I don't usually offer up my coaching like that, but it's cool.
I don't either. I don't even, like, that's not something I'm like
it's not a strategy in your world.
No, it was literally what was light and reaching out to her. And I was like, okay, whatever that is, I'm a yes to say, like, whatever that is.
Right.
And then, but I know I don't normally be like, hey, can I contribute to you? But that's just what showed up. So when you're willing to engage and take those actions versus, oh, I don't do that. And
well, maybe I need to be more willing to do that,
maybe, or maybe. No. But I think that, like, so many people right now are teaching, like I said, the automation of it, right? Of like, here's what you have to do, and you have to plan out for months. And a lot of time I can't even see 3 months out in terms of the social media because the energy changes all the time.
Way.
Yeah.
Right?
Certain things, yes.
There's other things that we see that as visionaries, we see like we perceive this like massive picture, and but we don't see how our social media campaign is going to be in the next 3 months. Exactly.
The business is planned out, not the social media part, because it's always changing. And even like new things, especially, those of us who are sort of on that creative edge, things change. The energy changes, the conversation changes, how you do it changes, the social media, what's available changes. So to plan out like super far with the social media, that it doesn't always match the energy. Yeah. So I feel like for me, that's part of my job. Like my part of my job is to be an inspiration. And I actually talked to Gary Douglas about this, and he's like, Cory, do you get that your job is actually to be the inspiration? And I was like, oh, I can do that. That's easy. I'll totally be an inspiration. So everything that I create, everything that I do is all coming from what inspiration can I be? And when I create my whole business from that space, then everything in my business is fun. Everything I'm choosing is light. Everything is like turning into magic, right? And then people always tell me, like, you're such an inspiration. I'm like, okay, good. I'm doing my job.
Right. How cool is that?
Yeah.
And showing up as an influencer is what allows them to see it.
Yeah.
You know, they see you traveling, they see you here and there, they see you having fun, and that inspires them to be more. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's, you know, I want to inspire more people to be that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing, though, is it is available, right? Like, it's of that, those choices and this way of living is available. And I knew, like, when I was living in the crap life, the before life, I knew it was possible, but I couldn't seem to connect the dots. I had all these things that I had learned, and they showed me that it was possible, but I didn't have the actual tools to create it, right? Because everything I was doing just wasn't working. It wasn't working like this, at least.
Yeah.
So being able to show people from that space of an invitation that this is actually possible it's just like, wow. And I look at, you know, the impact on the planet it has with more people choosing that. And it's like, that's the world I want to live in. That's the world I want to play with, people who are in that possibility. And people in my life now, there's not one person that I actually spend time with that isn't engaged in the conversation of infinite possibilities, the conversation of magic. Because I don't,
because those are the people you work with.
No.
Right?
No.
Yeah. And I'm sure that the people that are aligning with this conversation are like, where is she? You know, and why don't you go ahead and share what you're up to and where to go to find you.
Oh, all the good stuff.
And we have a blog post below, so we'll put links and things like that too.
All right, so I think like the thing to offer you guys is, well, you can always go to the Crazy Possible Experiment and just search for
a Facebook group on Facebook.
It's a free Facebook group, and you'll get in the experiments. Right now, we're doing some interesting stuff in there, but we're going to start the experiments over. But you have access to all that, so you can start getting into the energy. But I have this thing, and you were talking about practices. It's a thing called 8-Minute Magic, and it has a whole bunch of practices that literally they're easy to do, that anybody can do in a matter of minutes. And if you do them every day for a week or 30 days or longer, then your universe starts reconfiguring for you. And it's really cool. And it's actually free. Are you getting an echo?
And I'll put the link below.
Yeah, put the link below.
Okay.
I'm getting an echo.
Yeah, I got that.
Really interesting. Okay, what am I doing? I know you can edit this. That's a little better. So, and then it's ongoing. You'll be invited to webinars, talks about the art of actually living. Like, what are the different elements that you need to know about, so you can actually this too. That's just for the magic elite. It's actually for everybody.
Yeah. Totally. I love that. All right, great. So what else do you want to leave the audience with before we hang up?
Oh, goodness. You know, oh, God, there's so many things I would love to say, but if you're on this, you know, watching this, you're obviously someone who's wanting to have more of a social influence and maybe even have it be easier. And I guess if I had any advice, it would be just continue to be you. And continue to engage with the people, because to have social influence, like we were just talking about, isn't about automation as the main source of it. It's really the magic that you be, and your being, that is the thing that's attractive for people. It's not because you have fancy marketing. It's not because you have the right messaging. It's really, your messaging will come through you being more and more of you, and through those people who show up, and it'll get clarified more and more and more. as you keep going. So you don't even have to be perfect about that. I've changed mine. I know Jeneth's changed hers a bunch too.
Okay.
It's like, just go with whatever's light for you now and see where that goes, and then choose again. And that's okay. Like, changing is part of why we're so brilliant, is because we're willing to change. And that was always made wrong for me because I've changed jobs so much. And I think that the change and the magic and the being is really where you as a social influencer have access to so much more. So what else is really possible?
Thank you. That's great. Perfect. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.